Hey, what is going on, guys? DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the two-game NBA main slate on Friday. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. If you are unable to watch my YouTube videos, I also upload an Apple Podcast. Link down below. It's called the DKDFS Show. If you could leave a 5-star rating and review, that would go a long way. Helps me out a ton because every single rating review boosts me up in those podcast rankings. If you're interested in signing up for premium content, I offer that at patreon.com. 2 different packages, one for NBA, one for esports. Esports, we got CSGO and Call of Duty included. CSGO slates every single day and normally in the morning if you're into a morning sweat. And then Call of Duty 4 times a week. And I do want to thank the presenting sponsor, PrizePicks, of this show. If this is your first time watching or you're not familiar with PrizePicks, there's a couple different ways you can go about playing. So the original way is they post fantasy scores, fantasy projections, and you can take the over or under on them, based on how you feel, really. So, like Joel Embiid projected for 55 fantasy points, you either take the over or the under. For me, probably leaning the over. The way Embiid has really dominated so far this series. They also have single stat DFS, again, where you can take over on points, assists, rebounders, and 3-pointers made. So if you feel really strongly about someone's, or is this not updated? Yeah, this is from yesterday. But, they'll have that for points, rebounds, assists, 3-pointers made. If you have a strong lead there, you can check out the props on those single stat. And I think it's a fun change of pace, right? You're not playing against anyone, you're playing against the house. So if you guys want to try it out, you can sign up using the code DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You'll get a 100% match up to $100. So basically, you put $100 in, a free $100 to play with, or $200 total. Hoping you guys took the over on Ingles, and Clarkson's looking good too. Those are the two. I was like, hey, again, the biggest edge with PrizePicks is monitoring those injuries. And once Conley got ruled out, you had a decent amount of time to hop on Ingles, hop on Clarkson. So, my advice is, maybe turn on notifications for Fantasy Labs with questionable players. Again, there's not as big of an edge down the stretch with just less teams playing, but that would be my advice to you guys is, turn the notifications on for maybe something like Fantasy Labs and know kind of who gets the biggest boost when someone is out. So again, it was Ingles and Clarkson when Conley is out. So let's see what else do they got here for this 2-gamer as far as player fantasy score projections here. Okay, so Chris Paul, 39. I think I like the over there. He looks fully healthy, and we know he's a guy that can stuff a stat sheet. Again, with Barton back, I just have the guards for Denver. It's a little bit tricky, so I'll probably just stay away from those. Okay, these are looking pretty accurate. Let's go back up to the first game. Again, DeAndre Hunter is out for the season, so Herter and Gallinari will play more. And Herter, I think, has the ability to play more minutes, so probably would lean actually the over on Herter at 20.5. But yeah, those are the ones that kind of stick out to me. Again, they have every single sport you can think of. Also, first half contest too. They'll have second half contest as well. So again, DKDFS. Description below, 100% match up to $100. And finally, I just got to thank you guys for the continued support. Twitter and YouTube, as well as the live streams. We're averaging close to 300 concurrent viewers for these playoff live streams. These are 1- and 2-game slates. So I appreciate you guys coming in every single day and checking out the content, checking out the live stream, leaving comments. Really, really do appreciate all support. So if you guys do enjoy this content, if you could, leave a like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos, when I'm live. I will be live tomorrow. It's probably going to be an earlier live stream. I'll tweet out exactly when, maybe 3:30, 4 p.m. Central. Again, I'll let you guys know. All right, so before we talk about players and the prices for this 2-game slate, we can look back at my lineup here from Thursday. As usual, with NBA DFS, I am in a ton of pain. Just a ton. I'm hurting. I am hurting. So let's go over my lineup. Mike James, Kyrie Irving, Bruce Brown, Blake Griffin, Giannis, Drew, Ingles, and Ivica Zubac. So where do you guys want to start? How about let's start with the first game. I wasted 3 hours of my life watching that. I mean, what on earth was that game? I'm not even happy Milwaukee won. I'm not. Like, that was just the worst game I've ever watched. I was literally like the Doc Rivers gif, just like him kind of just like staring with his mouth. Like, that was me just watching that game. Like, am I really watching this right now? Is this really happening? The total for that game, 234 points. It finished 169 points scored. 65 points under the total. 65. What is this, the 1970s? I mean, I don't even know what else to say about that game. And the funny thing is, a lot of players actually still ended up getting there. Like Bruce Brown, 35. Blake Griffin was solid, even though he got an early foul trouble, lost a good amount of minutes there in the second quarter. Giannis was fine. KD had a great game. And then for me, it was a 50-50 decision with Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton. And that, per usual, could not have gone worse. Middleton went off, actually hit some shots to this game. Drew Holiday, cardio game. Just stood in the corner. That was so frustrating if you were Drew Holiday, if you played Drew Holiday tonight. Where I was wrong here was I thought Middleton was going to be a lot more popular because his usage has been a lot higher the first couple games in the series. I talked about this in the YouTube a little bit in the YouTube live stream, more so on the Patreon live stream, where I was like, okay, it's basically 50-50. I think Middleton's going to be more popular. I'm going to go Drew Holiday. Well, I was wrong in ownership. This is in a $200 tourney. Drew Holiday, about 60% owned. Middleton was like 30. So Drew Holiday was like double the ownership in the higher stakes stuff to Middleton. That surprised me. That did. I thought Middleton would be higher owned. So that I did not expect. Again, Mike James was the absolute chalk, 71%. Sure enough, any absolute chalk player in NBA playoffs is an automatic lock to bust. How many minutes did Mike James play? Not a lot. I saw a lot of Landry Shaman out there. Yeah, we had 12 Mike James minutes after 30 and like 25 the previous two games. So obviously that's not what we were expecting. And then Kyrie Irving it feels like he played well. He just like wasn't aggressive in the fourth quarter. Like, what did he finish with? I guess 9 of 22. I don't know. I used him to get a little bit contrarian. I loved the 10% ownership in Kyrie. Again, though, 86-83 final. Like, if that game's just a normal scoring game, obviously, or somewhat close to the total, obviously the first game is the one you want way more exposure to. Again, though, in the playoffs, it's like, I joke about it, but not really. Like, fade the best plays, and you win. So, and then the two guys he's... And don't even get me started with this, all right? This is the last thing that we'll get in the video. Low-owned Ivica Zubac, 3 fouls in 5 minutes in the first half. 2 illegal screens. And I was talking about this in the Discord. So I played Nick Batum game 1. Barely plays. Zubac gets a lot of extended run and smashes. So I play Zubac this game. He's starting, figuring, all right, he's going to have a good game. 3 quick fouls, and Nick Batum comes in and crushes. Again, is that not DFS in a nutshell? Losing my mind here. But can only laugh it off at some of this bad variance, right? The Drew versus Chris was truly a 50-50 call for me. Could not have gone worse, right? And then the first game going 65 points under the total, like that has to be one of the most, like the widest margins of, a game going either under or over the total. 65 points. All right, that's enough. That's enough tilting for me on this 2-game slate, guys. Man, it has been brutal, these playoffs, with some of the stuff that has happened. I could not believe my eyes watching that first game. But all right. And then, one more thing. I didn't play him. And I was warning people about this because, Rondo played 20 minutes in the first game. I was like, hey, I'm not expecting close to that because Reggie Jackson got in early foul trouble. And Rondo's getting a DNP tonight. Literally not playing. And he was like 25% owned in the $200 tournament. So crazy stuff going on in these NBA playoff DFS treats, guys. 76ers, Hawks at 224.5 over under. 76ers 1.5 point favorites. And Suns, Nuggets at 223 over under. The Nuggets 1.5 point favorites. All right, so we'll start off with Philly and Atlanta. And once again, Joel Embiid is probably my favorite play. I've got him at 10% ownership here and like 30% ownership here. Not sure why he continues to go low owned. The only reason I can think of is people a little bit worried about that knee. But I've watched both games. He looks basically 100% to me. So I'm not going to avoid him for a chance that he aggravates that injury if he's going to continue to be low owned. I do think the ownership will be up after back-to-back 60 fantasy point games, but I still really like Embiid. Just no one can stop him in Atlanta. Capella doesn't have a chance. I think Embiid is one of the top plays of the slate. Really, really like Embiid. Anyway, he's questionable. 100% going to play. 100% going to play. Now, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons. So Tobias Harris had a really strong start there. Was that last game or was that 2 games ago? Maybe it was both games where he started really strong. I feel like he has started really hot both games. He's gone for 43 and 38 in the last couple of games. He should play, somewhere around 36, 37 minutes. I think he's a fair play at 8K. Ben Simmons, well, he went back to the Ben Simmons of the regular season. 35 minutes, 23 fantasy points. Throw that game out the window, though. He's been pretty solid in the playoffs. Price dropped a little bit. Still some interest in him because, again, he is a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. Just kind of had an off game last game. Not super worried about it, but I'm still not going to lock in Ben Simmons in my lineup either. Right? Embiid is the guy for me in Philly. Now, with Seth Curry and Danny Green, again, they're both 3-point shooters. Seth Curry, the much better of the two, should play around 30 minutes. 5.3K is fair. Again, though, the issue is if he does have a subpar shooting game, like he does have a low floor, because he's just not going to do a ton of the peripheral stats. And the same thing with Danny Green. Again, decent defender, I guess, even though Trae Young's been abused him in game 1. He actually had 8 assists. Definitely an outlier. He's been struggling with his shot. Playable, but again, more of a contrarian play for me. Not even considering Dwight Howard and the bench for Philly. All I'm going to say, if you target someone here, good luck. Doc Rivers is going with a hot hand. He's shown that, right? It was Maxey for a few games. It was Shake Milton last game. Just, if you want to try to take a shot on Shake Milton, I don't think it's the worst idea. Just, if he does not play well, right? If he comes out and misses his first couple shots or, misses a defensive side, something, it does a couple things wrong, he'll probably get pulled, right? There's no guarantee in any of these guys off the bench for minutes, so they're all risky. Again, Milton had the good game last game. There's no guarantee that he's going to play a ton this game. George Hill seems to be locked into probably 15-ish minutes off the bench, I'd say. Not really a good point per minute guy. Again, you can play him. I'm probably not going to do it. Thibault at 3-1 probably gets, around 15 to 20 minutes. Again, a solid defender, but he's just terrible on the offensive end. Again, Maxey barely played last game. Korkmaz probably plays a little bit. Again, though, it's just right? He had a bad shooting game, so only played 6 minutes. Doc Rivers is going to go with a hot hand here, so it's not something I really want to deal with for the Philly bench. Moving on to the Atlanta Hawks, I think Trae Young ownership might drop a little bit for that subpar game last game. Still went for 43 fantasy points, only shooting 6 of 16. And Gallinari, Herter really stepped up. I think that might lower the ownership a little bit on Trae based on that last game, but still like him, right? He's going to play close to 40 minutes. They're going back home. I still have some interest in Trae Young here at 9.3K, even in a tougher matchup. No interest in Capella. Bogdanovic finally went under 30 fantasy points, right, for the first time, I think, all playoffs. He's been pretty consistent. So for 27. The minutes will be there for him. I think he's fine filler play. John Collins, kind of the same thing at 5'8". He'll play big minutes, probably about 35 or so. Not the best point per minute guy, but I think he's a solid option. And then again, with DeAndre Hunter out, Solomon Hill started, but the last game only played 8 minutes, so not going to go there because we know Solomon Hill is not a good point per minute guy. It's Herder and Gallinari that I do some interesting. Now, Gallinari is crazy, right? He was 70% owned here, had the bad game, dropped to basically unowned. He was 5% here, and then he smashed. Now I think the ownership's going to go up on him. If he comes on the bench and doesn't shoot well or doesn't play well, they can limit him to like 18 minutes. So there is a little bit of risk here with Gallinari. Price could come up. But yeah, I still think he's a decent value play. Herder's probably the guy I feel a little more comfortable with. I think he has the opportunity to play more minutes. He played 29 and 36. He's been shooting really well in this series too. He's actually a decent defender, can grab 2 rebounds too. He's a lot taller than I thought. I haven't watched a ton of Hawks games in person, but he's like 6'7". Again, a lot taller than I thought. But yeah, I think Herder's a pretty safe value play there with no DeAndre Hunter. And that's really it. Like Lou Williams played 15 minutes. I'm expecting about 10 minutes off the bench. I mean, he is a decent offensive player, but put him in the category of those Philly guys on the bench, right? You're just not going to feel comfortable about anyone. All right, so let's finish up with Phoenix and Denver. On the Phoenix side, I mean, Chris Paul really stands out here at 7-1, right? I mean, he had 50 fancy points in like 3 quarters last game. I really, really like Chris Paul. 12, 11, 15 assists. Looks like fully 100%. The price is not moving. One of my favorite plays. Absolutely love Chris Paul at 7.1K. He's going to be popular. It's for good reason. Devin Booker at 8.4. I mean, we know this guy has massive upside. With Chris Paul now 100%, though, Booker does take a little bit of a usage hit. Now, again, the upside is still there. I personally would rather play Paul for $1,300 cheaper than Devin Booker. Now, again, not saying Devin Booker's out of play. And if you want to get contrarian in this 2-game slate, you can maybe fade the chalk playing Chris Paul and go to Booker. But definitely Chris Paul looks optimal here. Now, DeAndre Ayton, I don't have a ton of interest in him. I mean, he's fine. I'm always a little bit worried about foul issues going up against a guy like Jokic. It's just more of a secondary play. Again, I don't love it. Now, Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges, I think, are both pretty safe. As long as this game stays competitive, both should play over 30 minutes. Both have the ability to knock down some shots. Again, Jay Crowder, whenever I play him, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. And when I fade, he turns into Steph Curry and can't miss. Again, DFS in a nutshell. But yeah, I think he's a safer play. And same with Mikal Bridges, right? Both these guys should play around 35 minutes, I think, in a close game. So I have interest in both Crowder and Bridges. Good filler options for sure. Campaign at 4-6, definitely taking a backseat now with Chris Paul more healthy. Played 15 minutes last game. I'm expecting somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes off the bench. At this price point, viable for tournaments, but not something I'm in love with. And then you have a couple of viable value guys off the bench here. Cam Johnson and Torrey Craig. So Cam Johnson, 33, should play 15 to 20 minutes. Playable, and same with Torrey Craig. Torrey Craig's been really... Now be careful a little bit here with Torrey Craig, right? Is he going to continue to... Are we still going to get like 1.5 fantasy points a minute for Torrey Craig? Probably not, right? No, it is. Revenge game narrative, and he's played really well. 24 and 22 fantasy points in 17 and 15 minutes. But like, does he continue this level of production? So, yeah, with Craig and Cam Johnson, they're both playable at 3.3 and 3.1K. And then Sarge at the 3K min price is power forward eligible, which is a little bit nice. He played a little bit more of that last game because DeAndre Ayton got in foul trouble and went for 15 fancy points. If you want to go that route again, I don't hate it. Again, you kind of do need the DeAndre Ayton foul trouble though for him to pay off that salary, because if Ayton doesn't get in foul trouble and this game stays competitive, we're going to get like 8 to 10 minutes out of Sarge. So finishing up with the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic at 10-7. I obviously have interest in him. I probably prefer Embiid, though, at a similar price point. But, yeah, Jokic, Game 3, playing at home. Denver kind of needs to win this game. And, yeah, he went for 52 in a blowout. I mean, he was the only one that really showed up for Denver. So I do like Jokic at the top. The issue is, in these playoff states, there's not a lot of value plays. So, you can go Jokic and Embiid, but you're going to have to sacrifice a decent amount to do that. Now, MPJ at 6.9K is going to play. That back seems to be affecting him. I would say he's more of a tournament play. The upside is still there, but he seems to be laboring up and down the court a little bit. Will Barton, keep an eye if there's a minutes limit, right? He was limited to 12 to 18 minutes. He played well. 16 minutes, 18 fantasy points. if we get news that Will Barton's full go, no limit, I really like him because I would think he plays probably 30-ish minutes, right? Around there, maybe more. So, yeah, monitor this one. But if Will Barton's full go, I like him. If he's limited to 12 to 18 minutes again, not as much. Aaron Gordon had like an absolute floor game, only played 20 minutes, had 6 fantasy points. I mean, he's normally been pretty consistent. Okay filler option, right? That dud game last game should lower the ownership. I don't love it, though. And then with Campozo, Morris, Rivers, I just have a hard time feeling confident with any of these guys. Barton in there, too. They'll probably lose a couple of minutes. I mean, they seem to want to have Rivers out there for his defense. So he'll probably play around 30 minutes. But again, Austin Rivers, as I always say, you're never going to get excited about him. Monty Morris, the combined like shooting like 10% from the field so far this year, is 1 of 10, 1 of 7. If these two games were the most recent, right, the 43 and 47, Monty Morris would be the chalk in the slate. But because he shot 1 of 10 and 1 of 7, he's going to be low owned. Now, the price did not come down enough for me to feel great about it, but I still don't mind going to Monty Morris for tournaments because the upside is there, right? It is there. Now, sure, Barton being in the offense probably hurts his usage a little bit, but it's not something I can go to with confidence. I'll just say I don't hate it for tournaments. Again, with Campozo, Rivers, one of those guys is going to close. It's basically been Campozo the last couple games, but if Morris plays well off the bench, it could be him. And then Wichita Green versus Paul Millsap. Whichever one I like, go the opposite. Because I swear, the 6 or 7 games at Denver or whatever it's been in the playoffs, for the showdown slates or regular slates, if I go Green, it's Millsap. If I go Millsap, it's Green. I swear I could not get these two right. Green should play more. He should play, 20 to 24 minutes, whereas Millsap will play basically strictly the backup 5, but he's the much more productive, better point per minute guy. It's just a tough one, right? I don't have a strong lead. I will say Green is safer because he should play more minutes. But Millsap's still viable as well. And that is really it, guys, for the player-by-player breakdown. And that's going to do it for the video as well. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos when live. Thanks again, guys. Have a great night, and I'll see you all tomorrow in the live stream.